My wife sold my apartment behind my back to sponsor her new boyfriend's company. They called me laughing. Thanks for the gift. I smiled and told them to check their own mail. Their faces turned ghostly white when they saw the foreclosure notice I'd sent and realized that I was the one secretly paying for. I always believed betrayal crept in quietly, like a whisper in the dark. But that afternoon, it came roaring through my phone screen with laughter. It was a Tuesday, the kind of day when my desk was buried under contracts, investment reports, and 2 empty coffee cups. I was running numbers for a client when my cell buzzed. Clara's name flashed across the screen. My wife. I almost didn't answer. Her calls had become rarer in the past year, usually filled with excuses about late nights with the girls or spa days with friends. Still, I swiped to accept, already bracing myself. Her face filled the screen. Perfect makeup, hair falling in styled waves. That sharp smile she always wore when she thought she'd won something. Beside her, half leaning into the camera, was Marcus, the boyfriend she once swore was just a business consultant. His smirk was worse than hers. Adrian, Clara said sweetly, dragging out my name as though I were some beloved puppy who had just learned a new trick. Guess what? I didn't answer. I leaned back in my chair, folding my arms. That's when Marcus cut in, voice dripping with arrogance. We sold your downtown apartment. Amazing deal. Thanks for the capital injection, buddy. Whole Enterprises is going to soar. He clinked an imaginary champagne glass against the camera. Clara giggled, curling into him like a high schooler clinging to her crush. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My apartment. The place I'd worked 16-hour days to buy. The one spot in San Francisco that felt like mine, carved out of years of sacrifice. They'd sold it. Behind my back. Clara tilted her head, watching for a reaction. Don't look so grim, darling. It's for a good cause. Marcus's company has potential. Think of it as a family investment. A gift, Marcus corrected. He flashed his teeth. From you to us. Then, together, they laughed. Loud, mocking, cruel. I stared at them, letting the silence stretch. My hands itched to slam the phone shut, to hurl it across the office. But years in finance had taught me one thing. Rage is useful only when it's controlled. So instead, I smiled. Congratulations, I said evenly. But before you pop too many bottles, you might want to check your own mail. The laughter faltered. Clara's smile froze, her perfectly painted lips trembling just slightly. Marcus frowned. What mail? Clara asked. I leaned forward so my face filled the screen, letting my voice drop to something cold enough to slice through their arrogance. You'll see. Then I ended the call. For a few seconds, I sat in silence, staring at my reflection in the black screen. My chest should have been tight with grief, anger, betrayal. Instead, a calmness settled over me, heavy but sharp. They thought they'd gutted me, that I'd roll over and lick my wounds like always. What they didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment for years. By the time Clara and Marcus tore open that envelope, the one with the foreclosure notice I'd arranged, their laughter would die in their throats. And for the first time, they'd understand who really held the strings. When I was younger, I used to think strength meant standing alone. You fight your own battles, you guard your own secrets, and you never let anyone see the cracks. But betrayal like Clara's? That kind of rot seeps so deep, you need someone steady at your side just to keep from drowning. For me, that person was Lydia Graves. Lydia and I went back to college days, law school for her, finance for me. She had this reputation on campus for slicing professors' arguments to ribbons while smiling politely, as if she were doing them a favor. While others crammed for exams, Lydia was building a network, mapping people's weaknesses, preparing for the long game. She used to tease me for being too straight-laced, too serious, but she never once laughed at my drive. Over the years, she'd become my only constant. So when Clara's face disappeared from my phone screen, leaving me with nothing but the echo of her and Marcus's laughter, my hands moved on instinct. I scrolled down my contacts, bypassing colleagues, family, even old friends. My thumb stopped at Lydia's name. The phone rang twice before she picked up. Adrian. Her voice was steady, low, the kind of tone that always made me think she could read 10 steps ahead. You sound like a man who's either won the lottery or burned down a house. Which is it? Neither. I forced a dry laugh. Though I suppose you could call it arson of another kind. She caught it instantly. Clara. Yes. My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. And Marcus? I heard the faint scrape of a chair on her end, as if she'd sat down hard. Tell me. I did. Every detail. The video call. The smugness. The laughter. The words, thanks for the gift. My voice didn't shake, but I could feel something raw pulling at my throat. When I finished, silence stretched on the line. Then Lydia exhaled slowly. And you didn't explode? No. You didn't curse, threaten, or throw your phone through a wall. No. A chuckle. That's my Adrian. Calm, calculated, and terrifying when you want to be. I let the compliment slide. I need your help. You'll have it. No hesitation. That was Lydia. But first, let me ask, what's the real damage? Was the apartment still under your name, or did you finally listen to me and shield it? A flicker of grim satisfaction crossed me. 6 months after I bought it, I moved the deed into Holt Enterprises. The LLC holds everything now. They think they sold my apartment, but they forged papers against a corporation. Legally, it's invalid. The satisfaction in her laugh was dark and sharp. Adrian Holt, you beautiful paranoid bastard. You just turned their little heist into a felony case. I leaned back in my chair, the first sliver of relief loosening the knot in my chest. So I'm not crazy. Oh, you're crazy, Lydia replied. But in the best way. Listen carefully, here's what we do. I'll file an injunction first thing in the morning. That freezes the sale. The funds get locked in limbo until a judge decides. With proof of forgery, we'll have the whole thing voided. And Marcus's capital injection? Frozen. His investors will see his company wobble before it even gets off the ground. He'll scramble, he'll panic, and in his panic, he'll make mistakes. That's when we pounce. Her confidence wrapped around me like armor. But there was something else I hadn't told her yet, something I dreaded saying out loud. There's more. Of course there is, she said dryly. There always is with you. Spit it out. I stood and walked to the window. San Francisco's skyline glowed against the evening, but all I saw was Clara's smirk burned into my mind. For years, I've been covering their debts, I said. Her parents' mortgage, credit cards, Clara's boutique, even Marcus's student loans back when he was just her friend. On the line, Lydia went silent. When she spoke, her voice was tight. How much? About $3,000 a month for the parents. Another $2,000 for Clara's business overhead. Half of Marcus's tuition back then. All through Holt Enterprises. You mean you've been their guardian angel? I closed my eyes. They thought some anonymous benefactor was bailing them out. They never knew it was me. And now, after everything I've given them, they sold my apartment for a man Clara barely knew a year ago. The silence on her end stretched until I almost thought she'd hung up. Then she said, Adrian, do you understand what you've been to them? A fool, I muttered. No, worse. You've been a bank account with legs. They don't see you. They see what flows through you. Her voice softened, but only slightly. And now, they've bitten the hand that's been feeding them. That means you finally get to cut them off. I pressed my forehead to the cool glass of the window. Outside, headlights streaked across the Bay Bridge like veins of fire. For years, I had believed that pouring money into Clara's family would buy me respect, loyalty, love. Instead, it bought their silence, their entitlement, their contempt. You're right, I whispered. Of course I'm right, she snapped, but there was warmth under it. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to send me every receipt, every record, every payment trail from Holt Enterprises. I'll compile it into a package so tight, even the devil couldn't poke holes in it. We'll use it as both sword and shield. Proof of your generosity, proof of their fraud. And the foreclosure? Oh, that's my favorite part. The moment we halt your payments, their mortgage defaults. 60 days later, foreclosure proceedings begin. When they open that envelope, Adrian, they'll finally realize you've been holding up the roof over their heads all along. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Adrian, Lydia's tone softened again. This isn't just about law. This is about you reclaiming yourself. You've let them drain you for too long. I know. My voice cracked just slightly. I just didn't think it would feel this empty. That's the grief talking. Not grief for them. Grief for the illusion you kept alive. Let it die. You'll feel lighter once it's gone. Her words settled deep, but before I could respond, my email pinged. A new message flashed across the screen. Urgent. Payment issue. Holt launch event. I clicked it open. Marcus's company logo sat at the top, followed by frantic lines from someone named Cassandra, their event coordinator. Deposits bouncing. Venue demanding immediate cash. Vendors threatening cancellation. I couldn't help it. I laughed. For the first time since Clara's call, the sound burst out of me, raw and sharp. "What is it?" Lydia asked. "They're already choking. Checks bouncing before the ink is dry." "Perfect." I could hear the smile in her voice. "Let them suffocate a little longer. By the time they figure out you're the one holding the oxygen, it'll be too late." We stayed on the line another hour, plotting, tightening every screw. By the time I hung up, the emptiness had given way to something else, steel. That night, lying in the quiet of my apartment, I stared at the ceiling and thought of Clara's mocking face, Marcus's smirk, the sound of their laughter. Let them laugh. They'd be silent soon enough. Money has a way of revealing truths people would rather keep buried. Numbers don't lie. They sit quietly on ledgers, waiting for someone to read between the lines. I'd spent my entire career untangling other people's secrets, finding loopholes in contracts, spotting weaknesses in balance sheets. What I never expected was that my own ledger would expose the kind of man I had been. Not a husband, not even a partner, just a safety net, quietly stretched under people who didn't care if it snapped. After my call with Lydia, I poured myself a drink and opened the folder I had avoided for too long. Holt Enterprises, disbursements. Every wire, every check, every transfer I had made over the last 4 years to Clara's family and Marcus. I'd saved them all, partly for records, partly for insurance. Tonight, for the first time, I looked at them without excuses. The screen glowed with endless lines of numbers. $2,850. Monthly mortgage on Clara's parents' home. $1,200. Clara's boutique rent. $950. Utilities and credit card bills. And then the bigger ones. $15,000 for Marcus's MBA tuition installment, disguised as consulting fees. $20,000 to erase a hospital bill Clara's father pretended he'd covered with insurance. Line after line, month after month. I scrolled until my eyes blurred. It was staggering. I had funneled nearly $500,000 into their lives since marrying Clara. For what? I thought back to the early days. Clara had been dazzling, the kind of woman who walked into a room and made it hers. She always said I was too stiff, too married to numbers, too serious. Supporting her boutique had felt like love. Helping her parents had felt like duty. Covering Marcus's loans. Well, that had been framed as helping a family friend. How blind had I been? I sipped the whiskey, the burn anchoring me in the present. It wasn't blindness. It was hope. I believed money could buy me peace, that if I kept everyone comfortable, maybe Clara would love me for who I was instead of what I provided. Instead, the more I gave, the more invisible I became. A soft chime interrupted my thoughts. Another email. This one from Amara Patel, a loan officer at First National Bank, the same name Lydia had mentioned before. Mr. Holt. It read, "I wanted to give you a professional courtesy. Your wife and her associate Marcus have been attempting to use your apartment as collateral for additional loans. Our team flagged irregularities and denied the applications, but you should be aware. Their debts are far greater than you might realize." I leaned back, staring at the words. Greater than I realized? Impossible. Unless. I dug deeper into my files. Passwords, spreadsheets, hidden folders Clara never knew existed. Slowly, the picture emerged. Clara had been siphoning cash not just from my accounts, but from the boutique's expenses. Designer clothes masked as inventory. Spa treatments tucked into marketing. Private trips under networking. And Marcus, Marcus, had used the tuition money to buy into crypto schemes, leaving behind a trail of losses disguised as business research. It hit me then, with the weight of a freight train. They hadn't just stolen my apartment. They'd been stealing from me for years, in pieces so small I mistook them for generosity. I'd been bleeding out slowly, and the apartment sale was just the final knife to the gut. My phone buzzed. A text. From Clara. "Don't be dramatic, Adrian. Marcus is building something real. You'll thank us when his company takes off." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Thank us. The audacity of it almost made me laugh. Another message followed. Also, Mom and Dad might call. They're worried about some foreclosure notice. Don't scare them with legal jargon. Fix it. You're good at fixing things. Fix it. For years, that had been my role. Adrian Holt, The fixer. The man who quietly picked up the bills, signed the checks, nodded through the insults at family dinners. I remembered Clara's father once clapping Marcus on the back and calling him a real entrepreneur, while I sat 3 seats down, invisible, my credit card paying for the meal. No more. I picked up my phone and dialed Lydia. She answered on the first ring. "You sound like a man who's seen a ghost," she said. "Worse," I replied. "I've seen the truth. They've been bleeding me dry for years. Marcus, Clara, her parents, all of them." Lydia didn't sound surprised. I assumed as much. Parasites rarely stop at one meal. "The question is, what do you want to do with this information?" I looked at the glowing ledger on my laptop. "I want them to choke on it." "Good." Her voice was steel. "Here's what we'll do. First, stop every payment. Mortgage, credit cards, utilities, everything. Cut the cord clean. That'll trigger foreclosure." "Exactly. Let them feel the ground give way." "Second, compile all records of your payments. We'll put them into a dossier. When the time is right, you'll deliver it. Not as a warning, but as a eulogy for the life they knew." "And Marcus's company?" Lydia laughed softly. "Without your money, he won't survive 2 weeks. His investors will scatter when they realize the launch is smoke and mirrors. You won't have to destroy him, Adrian. He'll self-destruct." Her certainty was like oxygen. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a man scrambling to keep everyone else afloat. I felt like the tide itself, ready to sweep them away. "Send me the files," she added. "Tonight." After we hung up, I worked until dawn. Every transfer, every email, every signed check. I compiled them into a neat dossier. Evidence of my generosity, yes, but also evidence of their betrayal. When I was done, I sat back and stared at the cover page. The ledger of lies. I thought of Clara opening her mailbox, expecting a bank statement or a glossy wedding invitation, only to find my dossier sitting there like a coffin nail. I imagined Marcus trying to charm investors while foreclosure notices stacked on his doorstep. I pictured Clara's parents, so used to living above their means, realizing their house was built on my money, not theirs. For years, they had seen me as a bank account with legs. Now they would see me as their executioner. The sun rose, painting the city in pale gold. I closed the laptop, finished my whiskey, and whispered into the silence. "Check your mail." There's a peculiar pleasure in silence, the kind that follows chaos you didn't create, but anticipated. I didn't pick up a hammer. I didn't break windows or slash tires. All I did was stop. Stop paying, stop covering, stop rescuing. And the silence that followed, the pause before the storm, was almost beautiful. It lasted 3 days. On the 4th, the first domino fell. I was in my office late, running projections for a client's overseas expansion when my inbox pinged. An unfamiliar name, Cassandra Evans. The subject line, "Urgent, Holt Enterprises launch event payments." My lips curled before I even opened it. Her message was frantic, a mess of bolded words and exclamation points. "Deposits have bounced. Venue is demanding immediate cash. Catering has placed a hold. Staff contracts may be void if payment is not received within 24 hours. Please advise immediately." I read it twice, then leaned back in my chair. Marcus's revolutionary company, the one Clara had so proudly announced would put us all on the map, was already gasping. And the ink on the fraudulent apartment sale hadn't even dried. I forwarded the email to Lydia with a simple note. "It begins." Her reply came within minutes. "Good. Let it unravel." Do nothing. And so I did nothing. By morning, my phone was buzzing with messages. Clara first. Her tone was honeyed, rehearsed. "Adrian, love, I think there's been some misunderstanding with the bank. Could you check on the apartment sale transfer? Marcus is stressed, poor thing. We just need you to work your magic." I didn't reply. 2 hours later, a voicemail from Marcus. His arrogance was cracking, though he tried to plaster it with bravado. "Hey, Holt. These banks, you know how they are. Slow, incompetent. Just give him a nudge, yeah? Get that money moving. My investors are breathing down my neck. We can all eat once this takes off, but I need the fuel right now. Don't screw around, man." I deleted it. By the 3rd day, Clara's tone shifted. "Adrian, answer your damn phone. This isn't funny. Vendors are threatening to walk. Marcus can't focus with all this stress. Do you want him to fail? Do you want me to be humiliated?" I poured myself coffee and muted the notifications. Meanwhile, Lydia kept me updated on the legal front. The injunction was filed yesterday morning, she said on a video call, sipping her coffee as though she hadn't just gutted my wife's fraud in one stroke. The bank has acknowledged receipt. Funds from the sale are frozen until the court reviews the forgery evidence. Marcus won't see a cent. And the property? Still yours. Or rather, still Holt Enterprises. The sale is void on its face. But let them pretend for now. The deeper they dig, the harder the collapse. I couldn't stop the small, grim smile that spread across Em. By the end of the week, the family group chat lit up like a Christmas tree. I hadn't opened it in months. Too many photos of Sasha's kids, too many backhanded jokes from Clara's cousins about me being the numbers guy. But this time, I unmuted it. I wanted to watch. The panic was instant and delicious. Clara, why aren't the checks clearing? Marcus, it's just a delay. Stop freaking out. Clara's mom, we're getting calls about the house. Something about late payments? Adrian, can you explain? Clara's dad, Adrian, pick up. It's your responsibility to fix this. You've always fixed things. I took screenshots of every line and sent them to Lydia with a caption, "The symphony begins." Her reply, "Record every note." The second domino came from the outside world. My assistant, Jordan, a sharp young analyst with a nose for gossip, walked into my office midweek. "You seeing the chatter online?" he asked, dropping a stack of files on my desk. "What chatter?" "About Marcus." Jordan smirked. "Word's out that his launch event is a disaster. Vendors leaking screenshots of bounced deposits, staff complaining on LinkedIn. Someone even posted a photo of him screaming at a caterer in the Pacific Crest lobby. It's going viral under hashtag Holt Scam." I raised an eyebrow. Hashtag Holt Scam. Yeah, irony, right? Your name's attached, but no one knows you're the one pulling the strings. They think Marcus is the scammer, which, to be fair, he is. I didn't laugh, but something warm unfurled in my chest. Poetic, really. Marcus trying to ride my name into success, only to drag it into public ruin. That evening, Clara finally snapped. She showed up at my apartment, the one they thought they'd sold, pounding on the door like a debt collector. "Adrian." Her voice carried down the hallway. "Open the damn door. We need to talk." I didn't. I watched from the peephole as she fumed, her hair wild, her eyes darting nervously. She looked less like the polished socialite I married and more like someone watching her empire crack under her feet. When she finally gave up, she left a note slid under the door. I picked it up, unfolded it slowly. "Adrian, whatever you think you're doing, stop. You're destroying everything. Marcus needs this company. My parents need their house. If you ever loved me, fix this. Otherwise, you'll regret it." Regret. The word hung there, sharp and hollow. I crumpled the note and tossed it into the trash. The third domino came the next morning. An email from Jet Maxwell, manager at the Pacific Crest Hotel. "Dear Mr. Holt, we regret to inform you that due to repeated payment failures, we are forced to cancel the reservation for the Holt Enterprises launch event. Please be advised that your deposit has been forfeited. We wish you the best in your future endeavors." I read it twice, savoring every syllable. Marcus's dream launch, gone, erased with a polite corporate email. I forwarded it to Lydia. Her reply, Domino 3. "They'll be begging soon." She was right. That afternoon, Clara's father called. His voicemail was almost pitiful. "Adrian, son, we've always considered you family. I don't know what's happening, but the bank says there's an issue with the mortgage. Please, come by and we'll sort this out like family." Like family. The same man who once told me I wasn't man enough for Clara. The same man who praised Marcus for thinking big, while calling me just a safe option. I saved the voicemail, filed it under irony. The fourth domino fell quicker than I expected. Lydia called late at night, her voice sharp with suppressed glee. "Judge signed the temporary restraining order," she said. "The sale is frozen. Bank notified. Every cent from that fraudulent deal is untouchable. By morning, Clara and Marcus will find their accounts locked tight." I exhaled slowly, a release I hadn't realized I was holding. "It's done then." "It's only beginning," Lydia corrected. "Tomorrow, the real fun starts." And she was right. By the next day, Clara's texts had shifted from arrogance to panic. "Adrian, the bank froze everything. They're saying fraud. Did you do this? Adrian, answer me. Marcus is losing his mind. My parents are terrified. The mortgage, the bills, everything's collapsing. You can't do this to us." But I could. And I had. Each message was another domino tumbling, Another echo of the choice they had made when they forged my name. I typed out a reply once, then deleted it. They didn't deserve words. Words were for people who respected you enough to listen. All they deserved now was silence, and the foreclosure notice already on its way to their mailbox. As the sun set over the city, I sat at my desk, poured another glass of whiskey, and watched the skyline glow. They thought they'd stolen my future. All they'd done was trigger their own collapse. The dominoes were falling, one by one. And I wasn't going to stop them. The thing about desperate people is they always reach for the same lifeline, the person they've used before. They forget that lifelines can snap. The call started before dawn. I woke to the shrill buzz of my phone vibrating across the nightstand, the screen flashing Clara's name. 5:12 a.m. I let it ring. 30 seconds later, Marcus. Declined. Then her father, her mother, back to Clara. A carousel of desperation spinning on my screen. By 6 a.m., I had 10 missed calls and 4 voicemails. I brewed coffee, settled at my desk, and put them on speaker. Clara's first message was a performance. Adrian, sweetheart, I know you're upset, but this has gone far enough. The bank's saying words like fraud and illegal sale. That's just a misunderstanding. Fix it. Marcus is stressed, and I don't want this ruining us. Call me back, okay? I love you. Her, I love you, sounded like a badly rehearsed line. The second was Marcus, his mask already slipping. Holt, what the hell are you pulling? You think you're clever, freezing the funds? I know it's you. You've got your lawyer friend screwing with us. Undo it. Now, or I swear, you'll regret it. I sipped my coffee, unimpressed. The man couldn't pay his staff, but thought he could threaten me. The third voicemail was Clara's mother, voice trembling. Adrian, honey, please. The mortgage is overdue. They're saying foreclosure. Your father-in-law can't sleep. He's not well. You wouldn't let us lose the house, would you? We've always loved you. Loved me? They loved the steady stream of anonymous payments. They loved the dinners I paid for, the holidays I funded, the safety net I wove around their spoiled daughter. But me? Adrian Holt, the man? No. The fourth was Clara again, her tone sharp as a knife. You're being cruel. You think this makes you strong? Ruining my wedding? Humiliating Marcus? You're pathetic, Adrian. Pathetic. Call me back before I do something you'll regret. I let the last word hang in the room. Regret. Threats again. Desperate people always reach for them when manipulation fails. By mid-morning, the voicemails had doubled. The texts came next. Adrian, the floor is canceled. The flowers were everything to me. How could you? Marcus's investors are furious. They're blaming me. Fix it. We got the foreclosure notice. Is this your idea of revenge? Answer the damn phone. You owe us that much. Oh, the word made me laugh. I didn't know them silence. I didn't know them comfort. And I certainly didn't know them the money that had kept their lives afloat. I drafted a reply once. You forged my signature. You sold what wasn't yours. This is your consequence. But then I deleted it. They didn't deserve clarity. Confusion was better. Let them spin in the dark, guessing which domino would fall next. Around noon, Lydia called. Her tone was cool, professional, but I heard the edge of amusement. They're panicking, aren't they? Clara left me 4 voicemails before breakfast, I said. And Marcus? Threats. Amateur ones. She laughed softly. Perfect. Let him hang himself. The more he lashes out, the weaker he looks. His investors will cut ties once they realize the company was built on fraud. I leaned back, swirling the last of my coffee. And Clara's parents? They'll fold fast. People like them always do. Without your payments, foreclosure is inevitable. I give it 60 days before they're out on the street. I thought of Clara's father, the man who once called me safe, but boring. He had no idea his boring son-in-law had been the only reason he still had a roof. The irony almost made me choke on my drink. That afternoon, my phone buzzed again. Another voicemail, this one from Clara's father. I hit play. Adrian, I don't know what you're thinking. You're tearing this family apart. We're your blood now, your duty. You signed up for this when you married Clara. Do the right thing. Fix it. Or don't bother showing your face around here again. Blood. Duty. The words made me laugh bitterly. These people weren't my blood. They weren't even family. They were parasites dressed in fine clothes, clinging to me because I made it easy. And as for duty, I had fulfilled mine tenfold, more than they ever deserved. At 3 p.m., Clara tried FaceTime again. Out of curiosity, I answered, holding the phone low so she could see only my jaw. Her face filled the screen. The smug confidence was gone. She looked pale, makeup smudged, hair pulled back like she hadn't slept. "Adrian," she said, her voice breaking. "Why are you doing this? You've always taken care of us. Always. Why stop now?" I stayed silent. She leaned closer, desperate. "It's Marcus's company. He just needs a chance. This launch was everything. You know I never wanted to hurt you. You know I still. Still what? Love me? Need me? Believe me useful? Say something," she whispered. I smiled small, cold, and ended the call. The silence afterward was sweeter than any apology she could have manufactured. By evening, Lydia called again. "We've got movement," she said. The bank confirmed the fraud report. Clara and Marcus are officially flagged in the system. Every account they touch is under review. By tomorrow, creditors will smell blood. I stared at the stack of foreclosure documents on my desk. "Good. You're calm," she said, almost teasing. "Too calm." No, a pause. "Dangerously calm. I like it." I chuckled. I learned from the best. That night, I turned my phone face down and let it buzz itself to exhaustion. Voicemails piled up, each more frantic than the last. Marcus shouting, Clara sobbing, her mother begging, her father raging, and then Clara again, her voice cracked and hollow. "Adrian, please. Just pick up. We're drowning. I don't know what to do." For years, that would have been enough to break me. I would have rushed in, pulled out my wallet, fixed it all. But not anymore. I poured a glass of whiskey, stepped out onto my balcony, and watched the city lights burn against the night sky. Their world was collapsing. The dominoes I'd set in motion were toppling one after another. And me? I was still, silent, untouchable. For the first time in years, the calm wasn't forced. It was freedom. If money reveals truth, then humiliation cements it. You can deny numbers. You can argue contracts. But when the world is laughing at you, the mask slips. That week, Clara and Marcus's masks didn't just slip. They shattered in front of an audience they couldn't control. It started with a leak. Monday morning, while I was reviewing reports in my office, Jordan, my sharp-eyed analyst, came rushing in, phone in hand. "Boss, you need to see this." On his screen was a screenshot circulating on Twitter. A bounced deposit slip. Marcus's signature scrawled at the bottom. The caption read, "This is the guy trying to launch Holt Enterprises? Can't even pay a caterer." Below it, the hashtag was spreading. #HoltScam. I felt a flicker of dark amusement. I hadn't lifted a finger. Their incompetence was outing them faster than I could. By lunchtime, the story had spread to LinkedIn and Facebook. Former staff from Marcus's startup posted cryptic comments about unpaid invoices and empty promises. Vendors chimed in with screenshots of bounced checks, emails demanding immediate cash. Cassandra, the event coordinator, posted a thinly veiled rant. "Some clients think charm pays bills. Spoiler, it doesn't." Every post, every share, every laugh. It was another stone thrown at the glass house Clara and Marcus had built. The second wave came through Instagram. Clara had been flaunting her life there for years. Rooftop champagne photos, designer handbags, motivational quotes about hard work she never lived by. Her followers adored her curated perfection. Not anymore. Someone leaked the foreclosure notice I'd arranged, complete with the Holt Enterprises header. It spread like wildfire. Her comment section turned savage overnight. "Weren't you bragging about buying a new condo? Guess it wasn't yours after all. So this is what happens when you scam your own husband. Imagine selling the man's apartment for your side piece. Trash behavior. #HoltScamQueen. Within hours, Clara set her profile to private. But the screenshots kept spreading. Screenshots never die. Marcus didn't take it quietly. He tried to fight back the only way he knew: loud, brash, and stupid. He posted a shaky video on LinkedIn, sitting in a half-empty office with whiteboards behind him covered in buzzwords. "This is Marcus Young, founder of Holt Enterprises. Let me clear something up. There are people, jealous people, trying to sabotage me. My ex-friend Adrian Holt, in particular. He couldn't stand to see me succeed, so he froze our funds and spread lies. But let me tell you something. Vision can't be stopped. Innovation can't be bought. And Holt Enterprises is here to stay." The video lasted 3 minutes. It took 20 minutes for the comments to bury him alive. "Bro, pay your staff before talking about innovation. Your ex-friend? Wasn't he your wife's husband? Guy can't pay for coffee, but wants to change the world. Delete this, Marcus. Save what little dignity you have. By evening, the video had been clipped into memes. His sweaty forehead, his shaking voice, it all became fuel for the fire. Investors ghosted him. Staff resigned. Vendors blacklisted him. Clara wasn't any better. Her desperation bled through in ways she couldn't mask. One of her friends, the kind who loved proximity to her glamour but not enough to shield her, leaked a recording from a private brunch. In it, Clara raged about me. He's pathetic. Always was. Numbers and spreadsheets, that's his whole life. He thinks he's punishing me by cutting us off? Please, Marcus and I will build something bigger than he ever could. The audio went viral, not because of her insults, but because her voice cracked when she said it. She didn't believe her own words. The internet tore her apart. Sis, if he's so pathetic, why were you living on his money? She really said cutting us off, like she wasn't mooching for years. Your boyfriend can't pay his phone bill. Sit down. The real blow came Wednesday night. The Pacific Crest Hotel released an official statement. Due to unresolved payment issues and ongoing legal disputes, Holt Enterprises' launch event scheduled for this Saturday has been canceled. We apologize to our vendors and partners for any inconvenience. They didn't stop there. A reporter at the San Francisco Herald picked it up. By Thursday morning, the headline was splashed across their business section. From startup star to hashtag Holt scam, the rise and fall of Marcus Young. And beneath it, a photo of Clara in a designer dress, clutching Marcus's arm. The caption, apartment sale fraud sparks scandal. The irony was exquisite. For years, I'd been invisible in Clara's narrative, the boring husband in the background. Now, her face was front-page news for all the wrong reasons. They didn't take it quietly. At 9 a.m., Clara called me again. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her face was blotchy, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Adrian, she sobbed, please. This is out of control. The news, the comments, the hotel. You've ruined me. You've ruined us. You ruined yourself, I said flatly. You don't understand. Her sobs turned shrill. People are calling me a fraud. My friends won't answer me. Xander. She stopped herself, too late. Xander. Another name. Another betrayal I hadn't even uncovered yet. I tilted my head. Xander. Her eyes widened. Forget it. Just, Adrian, please. Make this stop. You can fix this. You always fix everything. I smiled. Not anymore. And I hung up. The group chat that evening was chaos. Marcus, this is your fault, Clara. You dragged Adrian into this mess. Clara, don't you dare blame me. You're the one who can't run a company. Clara's mom, stop fighting. Adrian, please, do something before the bank takes the house. Clara's dad, Adrian, answer us. You're making a mockery of this family. Marcus, he's enjoying this. Sick bastard. Clara, Adrian, if you don't fix this, I swear. I muted the chat. Let them scream into the void. By Friday, it wasn't just vendors and staff mocking them. Friends, colleagues, even neighbors joined in. Clara's old high school classmate posted, funny how the girl who always bragged about marrying rich is broke now. Karma's delicious. Marcus's ex-business partner tweeted, told him years ago, stop chasing shiny things. Guess Adrian's the one who finally turned off the faucet. Even Clara's cousins, the ones who'd called me boring at Thanksgiving, chimed in. Guess boring is better than broke. Their humiliation was complete. That night, I met Lydia for dinner. We sat in the corner of a quiet steakhouse, the city buzzing outside. She raised her glass of red wine, eyes glinting. To public opinion, she said. I clinked my glass against hers. And to silence. She smirked. You realize, Adrian, you've barely lifted a finger. You just stopped playing the game. And look what happened. Ironic, isn't it? I said, all these years, I thought money kept them afloat. Turns out, it was me. My silence is louder than any speech I could have made. Lydia's gaze softened. How does it feel, watching them burn? I thought about Clara's ruined mascara, Marcus's sweaty video, her parents begging like paupers. It feels, I said slowly, like justice wearing the face of humiliation. That weekend, I checked Clara's Instagram one last time. She had deleted half her photos, wiped her captions, shut off comments. But the damage was done. Screenshots lived forever. Her once perfect life was a cautionary tale now. Marcus was a meme. Clara was a punchline. Her parents were whispers of pity in church pews and neighborhood gossip circles. And me? I was silent, calm, watching, because humiliation wasn't the end. It was only the middle. Humiliation has a strange effect on people. Some crumble quietly. Others fight back like cornered animals. Clara and Marcus fell into the second category. When the internet turned against them and the vendors slammed their doors shut, they didn't retreat. They doubled down. And that was their biggest mistake yet. It began on Monday with a knock on my office door. Jordan leaned in, cautious. "Boss, you'll want to see this." He placed a stack of printouts on my desk. Social media screenshots. Clara's mother had posted a long rant on Facebook, claiming I was financially abusing the family and using my corporate ties to sabotage Clara's happiness. "She's painting you as some kind of villain," Jordan said. Look, the post had hundreds of comments, but most weren't sympathetic. "Lady, your daughter sold her husband's apartment for her boyfriend. Sit down. Financial abuse. More like financial rescue. He should have cut you off years ago. Imagine stealing from your own kid and then crying victim." Even Clara's mom's friends turned against her. But the rant showed me something else: desperation. They weren't just embarrassed anymore. They were spiraling. By Wednesday, it escalated. I was heading into a board meeting when Lydia slid her phone across the table. "Look at this." It was a fundraising page, Help Save Holt Enterprises, started by Marcus himself. The description was laughable. "We've been sabotaged by jealous ex-family members and corrupt banks. Help us fight back and protect innovation. Every dollar counts." At the bottom, a progress bar showed $1,245 raised out of a $500,000 goal. Most of the donations came from fake-looking accounts with names like CryptoKing92 and Bella_Bride. The comments were brutal. "I'll donate when you pay your florist." GoFundMe isn't your sugar daddy. This guy has main character syndrome and bankruptcy energy. Lydia smirked. Pathetic. They're rattling the tin cup while the whole world watches. I shrugged. Let them. Desperation is just another nail in their coffin. Thursday brought the first real sign of panic. Detective Alvarez called. "Mr. Holt, thought you'd want to know. Your wife and her boyfriend tried filing a complaint against you. Claimed you forged your own signature on the apartment documents to frame them." I almost laughed. "So I framed myself. That's their story," Alvarez said dryly. "We reviewed the evidence. Doesn't hold water. But they're trying to flip the narrative." "Let them," I said. "Every lie digs them deeper." Still, it was telling. They weren't just desperate for money. They were desperate for a new story, one that didn't end with them as fraudsters. Friday night, Clara herself called. Against my better judgment, I picked up. Her voice was shaky, raw. "Adrian, please. You don't understand. They're going to take Mom and Dad's house. The foreclosure notice came today. They're terrified." I leaned back in my chair. "You mean the notice from Meridian Holdings? The company that's been paying that mortgage for years?" "My company." Silence. I could almost hear her swallowing the truth. "You?" she whispered. "Me," I confirmed. 4 years of payments. Every month. Every dime. "And how did you thank me?" "By forging my signature and selling my apartment." "Adrian, I didn't know." "That's the point," I cut in. "You didn't know? Because you never cared. You just assumed the money fell from the sky, that you were entitled to it." Her voice cracked. "Please. I'll make it right. I'll pay you back." I almost laughed. "With what?" "Marcus's GoFundMe." That shut her up. "Goodbye, Clara." I hung up. The weekend was chaos. The foreclosure notice hit the local paper. The headline screamed, "Young family home faces foreclosure amid fraud allegations." Neighbors gossiped. Church friends whispered. Even the local grocery store clerk posted on Facebook. Never thought I'd see the day the Youngs lose everything. Always thought they were better than the rest of us. Marcus tried to save face by hosting a town hall live stream from his office. He called it Transparency Hour. Only 42 people tuned in. Half were trolls. "Where's the money, Marcus? Can't pay rent, but wants to change the world. Show us Clara in her wedding dress again." "Oh wait, Adrian sold it too." The chat buried him. He ended the stream after 17 minutes, face red, voice cracking. Meanwhile, Sasha, Clara's cousin and one of her old bridesmaids, reached out to me privately. "Adrian, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for everything. Clara's been lying to all of us. She told everyone you abandoned her, but now, people know the truth." I didn't trust her motives, but her next words were telling. Marcus is unraveling. He's screaming at investors, threatening vendors. Clara's hiding at her parents' place, crying nonstop. They're not just desperate, Adrian. They're broken. On Monday morning, I arrived at the office to find Jordan waiting, pale-faced. Boss, you won't believe this. Marcus applied for an emergency loan yesterday. He used your name as guarantor. My jaw tightened. He forged me again? Jordan nodded. Bank flagged it immediately. They're pressing charges. That was it. The final straw. They weren't just drowning. They were clawing at anyone nearby to drag down with them. That night, Lydia poured me a glass of whiskey. So what now? She asked. I stared at the amber liquid, thinking of Clara's tearful voice, Marcus's sweaty live stream, her parents' foreclosure notice pinned to their door. Now, I said slowly, we stop watching them drown. Lydia tilted her head. And we push them under. People don't break all at once. They fracture piece by piece, like glass under pressure, until one final blow shatters them completely. Clara and Marcus had been cracking for weeks. Public humiliation, frozen accounts, vendors pulling out. Each event, another fissure. By the time the last strike hit, they weren't just broken. They were dust. The news breaks wide. It was Tuesday morning when the scandal exploded beyond our circle. I was sipping my coffee, scrolling through emails, when Jordan barged into my office with a tablet in his hand. Boss, it's gone national. On the screen was the homepage of the Financial Chronicle. The headline read, Apartment fraud tied to failing startup. Holt Enterprises implodes. The article laid it all bare. How Clara and Marcus had sold an apartment without legal authority. How the buyer's funds were frozen pending investigation. How Holt Enterprises had defaulted on vendor contracts worth nearly $500,000. And then the kicker, my name. According to legal documents, the apartment was not owned by Clara Young or Marcus Holt, but by Meridian Holdings, a company founded by Adrian Holt. Sources close to the case confirm Mr. Holt had been financially supporting the Young family for years, unbeknownst to them. Jordan watched my face carefully. You okay with this being out? I took a slow sip of coffee. I wanted the truth to surface. Now it has. Clara's parents' collapse. By noon, Clara's parents' house had reporters parked out front. Neighbors whispered on their lawns. Kids rode past on bikes chanting, "Scammers! Scammers!" A video went viral of Clara's father storming out, shouting at the reporters. We're victims here. Our son-in-law set us up. He's destroying this family. But the internet wasn't buying it. Bro, you signed the foreclosure papers. Victims of your own stupidity. Imagine stealing from your kid and crying when you get caught. They raised a thief and a gold digger. Apples, meat tree. By evening, the stress had gotten to them. Clara's mother was rushed to the hospital for stress-related chest pains. Clara's father was spotted pacing the hospital parking lot, chain-smoking. It wasn't satisfaction I felt, not exactly. It was inevitability. They'd lived off lies for so long that reality hit like a freight train. Marcus loses control. If Clara's parents were collapsing, Marcus was combusting. On Wednesday afternoon, a leaked video surfaced from one of his so-called emergency investor meetings. The video showed Marcus red-faced, slamming his fist on a conference table. Adrian is sabotaging me. He's behind everything. The banks, the vendors, the press. He wants to destroy Holt Enterprises because he's jealous. A voice off camera asked quietly. Or maybe because you sold his apartment without permission? Marcus lunged across the table, screaming, "Shut up." The clip ended with security dragging him out of the room. By evening, it had millions of views. Hashtags trended. Hashtag meltdown Marcus and hashtag HoltScamLive. Investors withdrew. Staff resigned en masse. Holt Enterprises wasn't just failing. It was dead. Clara reaches out. That night, Clara called again. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her voice was hollow, like someone who hadn't slept in days. Adrian, please. I don't know what to do anymore. Marcus is losing it. Mom's in the hospital. Dad's drinking. Vendors are threatening to sue. I can't breathe. I sat in silence, letting her words hang. You did this, she whispered finally. No, I said. You did this when you chose him over me. When you stole what was mine to build his fantasy. All I did was stop saving you. I made a mistake, she sobbed. One mistake. One mistake worth $400,000, I said coldly. One mistake worth 4 years of lies. You didn't just make a mistake, Clara. You showed me who you really are. Her sobs grew louder. Please, Adrian, just help us this one last time. I exhaled. No. And I hung up. The courtroom steps in. By Thursday, the legal hammer fell. Detective Alvarez called me personally. Mr. Holt, the DA is moving forward with charges. Forgery, fraud, attempted identity theft. We'll need you in court next week to testify. When I arrived at the courthouse for the preliminary hearing, the place was swarming with cameras. Clara's parents clung to each other on the steps, avoiding the reporters' questions. Marcus shoved microphones out of his face, screaming that he was the victim. Clara kept her sunglasses on, hiding swollen eyes. Inside, Judge Pierce wasted no time. This court finds sufficient evidence to proceed with charges against Clara Young, Marcus Holt, Albert Young, and Ava Young. Bail is set at $50,000 each. The gavel struck. Clara gasped. Marcus cursed. Her parents sat stunned. The sheriff's deputies moved in, cuffing them one by one. Cameras flashed as they were let out. Heads bowed, shackles clinking. The internet had its field day. Bride-to-be turned fraud queen. Startup CEO arrested for scamming his own investor-in-law. Whole family going to jail. Netflix, call me. Clara's breaking point. That night, I got one last voicemail from Clara. Her voice was ragged, desperate. Adrian, I don't care anymore. Marcus is gone. My parents are ruined. Everyone hates me. I can't walk down the street without whispers. Please just tell me why. Why couldn't you forgive me? Why couldn't you save us? I listened once. Then I deleted it. Because the truth was simple. Forgiveness had been stolen along with my apartment. Reflection. As I sat in my apartment that night, my real apartment, safe under Meridian Holdings, I stared out at the city lights. They thought money made me their safety net. They thought my silence made me weak. They thought they could laugh in my face and still expect me to save them. But the breaking point had come. Not for me. For them. And now, they would live in the rubble of the empire they built on lies. Some battles are fought in silence. Others in boardrooms, with contracts and signatures. But the most satisfying battles, the ones that cut deepest, are fought under the cold glare of courtroom lights, with truth as the only weapon. The day of the hearing finally arrived. The courthouse. I walked into the courthouse dressed in a charcoal suit, calm as ever. Lydia walked beside me, her heels clicking on the marble floor. She wasn't just my lawyer. She was my ally, my shield, and, in many ways, the voice I never had when Clara's family walked over me for years. The hallway buzzed with reporters. Cameras flashed. I ignored them, though I caught snippets of their questions. Mr. Holt, did you really bankroll the Young family for years? Is it true they forged your signature on property documents? Do you think your wife was part of the conspiracy, or just manipulated? I said nothing. Silence was its own answer. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Every seat filled, people standing in the back. A mix of press, curious locals, and bitter vendors waiting for their turn to testify. And then they entered. Marcus in a wrinkled suit, eyes darting like a trapped rat. Clara, pale and trembling, avoiding my gaze. Her parents shuffled in behind, their faces carved with exhaustion. They looked nothing like the smug family who'd once laughed down the phone line, thanking me for the gift. They looked like what they truly were, frauds exposed, parasites cut off from their host. The judge speaks. All rise. Judge Pierce entered, stern and sharp-eyed. Once we were seated, he looked over the room. This is a preliminary evidentiary hearing in the case of State versus Clara Young, Marcus Holt, Albert Young, and Ava Young, charged with fraud, forgery, and attempted identity theft. Prosecution, you may proceed. The district attorney, a tall woman named Carver, stood. Your Honor, the state will demonstrate that the defendants deliberately forged the complainant's signature in order to sell property they did not own, then attempted to conceal this fraud by portraying the complainant as the perpetrator. We will also show a consistent pattern of financial exploitation spanning years. Her voice was steady, deliberate. We call our first witness, Adrian Holt. Taking the stand. I walked to the witness stand and swore in. The eyes of the room fixed on me. Mr. Holt, Carver began. Please tell the court your relation to the defendants. My wife, I said, nodding at Clara. Her parents. And her boyfriend, Marcus. A low murmur rippled through the crowd. Carver continued. Can you explain how the apartment in question was sold without your knowledge? I laid it out. Calm. Precise. Years of corporate presentations had trained me for this. The apartment was purchased under my personal name in 2017. In 2020, I transferred ownership to Meridian Holdings, a company I control. The defendants, believing it was still under my personal deed, forged my signature and executed a fraudulent sale. The funds were immediately frozen once the bank discovered inconsistencies in the paperwork. Carver nodded. And how did they have access to your documents? My trust, I said simply. For years, I let them manage small aspects of the property while I worked overseas. They used that access to commit fraud. I glanced toward Clara. Her eyes brimmed with tears, but I felt nothing. The bombshell. Carver leaned closer. Mr. Holt, were you providing financial support to the Young family during these years? I could feel the tension sharpen. Everyone leaned forward. Yes, I said, voice steady. Through Meridian Holdings, I covered their mortgage, credit cards, car payments, and a significant portion of Clara's sister's tuition. Roughly $3,200 a month for over 4 years. Gasps filled the room. Even Judge Pierce raised his brows. Carver's voice hardened. Did the defendants know the funds came from you? No. I kept it anonymous because I knew what they were like. Entitled, reckless. I wanted to help without giving them more power over me. And how did they repay your generosity? I looked directly at Clara. By stealing from me. The defense crumbles. When it was the defense's turn, Marcus tried to speak for them. He shuffled papers, his voice cracking. Your Honor, Adrian's lying. He's framing us because he couldn't handle Clara leaving him. He made up Meridian Holdings to trap us. He forged his own documents, too. Enough, Judge Pierce snapped. Do you have evidence? Marcus fumbled. We're still gathering it. Lydia stood smoothly. Your Honor, may I? The judge nodded. She handed a thick binder to the clerk. These are certified bank records from Meridian Holdings, documenting every payment made to the Youngs over the past 4 years, all verified by the issuing institutions. In addition, we have sworn affidavits from the bank officers confirming the defendants attempted to use Mr. Holt's name for loans without his consent. This isn't a case of misunderstanding. This is willful, deliberate fraud. The courtroom buzzed. Clara's parents shrank in their seats. Clara covered her face with her hands. Marcus sputtered, red-faced. Clara breaks. When Carver called Clara to the stand, she cracked almost instantly. Mrs. Young, Carver began. Did you know the apartment you sold belonged to Meridian Holdings? I thought it was ours, Clara whispered. Did you or did you not forge your husband's signature on the documents? Her voice shook. Marcus said it was fine. He said Adrian wouldn't care. So you admit you signed the name without authorization? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Yes, but I didn't know it would. Thank you. Carver cut her off. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Clara collapsed back into her seat, sobbing. Marcus glared at her like she'd betrayed him. Her parents avoided her eyes entirely. The confrontation. When the recess was called, I stepped outside. Reporters swarmed, but I ignored them, walking to a quiet corner of the hallway. That's when I heard footsteps. Adrian. Clara stood there, trembling, mascara streaking her face. For a moment, she looked like the woman I used to love, vulnerable, human. But I knew better now. You destroyed us, she whispered. No, Clara, I said calmly. You destroyed us when you chose Marcus. When you laughed as you sold my apartment. When you thought my silence was weakness. Her lips trembled. Can't you just forgive me? Help us? You know I'm not like them. I cut her off. You forged my name. You took what was mine to build another man's dream. There's no coming back from that. Her tears spilled faster. Then you win. I shook my head. This wasn't about winning. It was about ending. And I walked away. The verdict. By the end of the week, Judge Pierce ruled. There is overwhelming evidence of fraud and forgery. The defendants will face trial. Bail conditions remain. Court adjourned. The gavel struck. As deputies escorted them out, Clara turned her head one last time. Our eyes met. Hers full of regret. Mine empty. Because the final confrontation wasn't about shouting or revenge. It was about truth. And the truth had finally spoken louder than their lies. Reflection. That night, I sat in my apartment, and poured a glass of whiskey. For years, I'd been their provider, their silent safety net. They saw me as a wallet with legs. A fool to be drained dry. Now they were facing trial. Facing ruin. Facing themselves. And I was finally free. Freedom doesn't arrive with fanfare. It creeps in quietly, like sunlight through blinds after a long night. For years, I'd lived under the weight of Clara and her family's demands, their manipulations, their endless hunger for more. The day the gavel fell, that weight lifted, and for the first time in a long time, I could breathe. The headlines. The morning after the hearing, my phone buzzed nonstop. Jordan had warned me the press wouldn't let this go, but even I was stunned at the flood. Fraud family faces trial. Husband who funded them speaks out in court. Startup scam exposed. Marcus Holt's fall from grace. Clara Young's double life. Wife, fraudster, and betrayer. Every outlet ran the story. Some painted me as the stoic provider who finally drew the line. Others framed it as a Shakespearean betrayal, a man destroyed by love and greed, only to rise from the ashes. I didn't care about the spin. What mattered was tea. Clara's final plea. That evening, as I prepared dinner alone in my apartment, my phone buzzed with a voicemail. The number was blocked, but the voice was unmistakable. Adrian, it's me. Please don't hang up. Her voice cracked, heavy with sobs. The trial is coming. Marcus has turned on me. He says it was all my idea. Mom and Dad won't even look at me. I have nothing left. No friends, no money, no reputation. Just you. A pause. Please. If you ever loved me, just come see me. One last time. I need to explain. I stood there, wooden spoon in hand, listening to the desperation drip through every syllable. For years, that tone had been my undoing. Every sob, every plea, every tremble in her voice had been a hook to drag me back into their chaos. But not anymore. I deleted the message without replying. Marcus implodes. 2 days later, Marcus's implosion made headlines again. He'd been spotted storming out of the courthouse, screaming at reporters that the system was rigged and that Adrian bought the judge. Videos showed him shoving a cameraman, nearly starting a fistfight. By nightfall, #MarcusMeltdown trended again. Investors severed ties completely. Whole enterprises filed for bankruptcy. Employees sued for unpaid wages. The man who thought he could build an empire on my apartment sale was now reduced to a viral punchline. Clara's parents. Clara's parents fared no better. Their house, once a pride of the neighborhood, now bore a foreclosure notice stapled to the door. Neighbors gossiped freely, no longer intimidated by their holier-than-thou heirs. A video surfaced of Clara's father shouting at a bank teller, "You don't understand. My son-in-law ruined us." The teller's response was calm, almost pitying. "Sir, your son-in-law kept you afloat for years. You ruined yourselves." It spread online like wildfire. Reflection in the apartment. That Friday night, I walked through my apartment, my sanctuary, my proof of independence, my escape from them. Every corner carried memories. Late nights with spreadsheets glowing, dinners eaten cold, moments of solitude that once felt lonely but now felt peaceful. For the first time, the walls didn't echo with absence. They hummed with possibility. I poured myself a drink and leaned against the window, watching the city lights shimmer. For years, those lights had mocked me, reminders of a world I worked for but never got to enjoy. Now, they felt like mine. A visit from Lydia. The knock came just after 9. Lydia stepped in, still in her courtroom suit, hair tied back. She carried a bottle of champagne. "You're free," she said simply, popping the cork. I smirked. Free, but not done. The trial's still ahead. She poured 2 glasses. "Maybe, but the outcome is inevitable. You exposed them. The evidence is airtight. This," she gestured to the champagne, "isn't about the legal case. It's about you finally walking away." We clinked glasses. The champagne fizzed, cool and sharp. "How does it feel?" she asked. I thought about Clara's voicemail. Marcus's rage. Her parents' foreclosure. "It feels," I said slowly, "like stepping out of a prison I didn't even know I was in." The trial looms. In the weeks that followed, the wheels of justice turned. Pre-trial hearings dragged on. Lawyers filed motions. Reporters camped outside the courthouse, hungry for scraps. Clara attempted another letter, a handwritten plea smuggled through Lydia's office. I never read it. Lydia shredded it before I could. "Don't let her bait you," she warned. "She's not reaching out for closure. She's reaching out for leverage." She was right. The last encounter. The final confrontation came not in the courtroom, but in the courthouse hallway during a recess. Clara spotted me across the marble floor, deputies hovering nearby. She broke from her parents and ran to me before anyone could stop her. Adrian. Her voice cracked, desperate. I froze, then turned slowly. She stood there, trembling, eyes wide with panic. They're going to lock me up, she whispered. Please, please, you can stop this. Just tell them I didn't know. Tell them Marcus tricked me. I stared at her for a long moment. Memories flickered. The laughter on the call when they sold my apartment, the smugness in Marcus's eyes, her dismissive wave when I protested. You knew, I said finally. Maybe not every detail, but you knew. And you laughed. Her lip trembled. I didn't mean. You meant it enough, I said coldly. This is your reckoning, Clara, not mine. Her face crumpled. Deputies guided her back before she could say more. That was the last time I saw her outside of a courtroom. The sentencing. Months later, the trial concluded. The evidence was overwhelming. Marcus was sentenced to 3 years for fraud and forgery. Clara received 18 months, with eligibility for early release. Her parents faced probation and restitution orders they'd never be able to pay. The day they were let out in handcuffs, the courtroom erupted in flashes of cameras. I stood in the back, silent. It wasn't victory I felt. It was closure. A new chapter. Back home, I poured myself another glass of whiskey and opened my laptop. Emails flooded in from colleagues, investors, even strangers online thanking me for standing up. One subject line caught my eye. Opportunity. A Singapore-based firm wanted me to consult, not for their money, but for my reputation. Word of the case had spread across industries, and suddenly, I wasn't just Adrian Holt, the quiet provider. I was Adrian Holt, the man who exposed a family's fraud and came out unbroken. I closed the laptop, smiling faintly. The world was opening up in ways it never had before. Epilogue. That night, I stepped onto the balcony, city lights stretching before me. The cool air carried no weight of betrayal, no whispers of guilt, no pleas for money. My phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't bother to check it. Some bridges aren't just burned. They're left in ashes, never to be rebuilt. And sometimes, freedom doesn't come from saving others. It comes from saving yourself. For the first time in years, I wasn't Clara's husband. I wasn't her parents' ATM. I wasn't Marcus's Mark. I was Adrian Holt. And I was free.